personal branding is transcending this influencer space. It's transcending the thought leader space. And it is becoming ubiquitous and pervasive in who gets promoted, who gets hired, who gets on the board, who gets equity, which company gets funded, even who we date.
I think you gotta have a dream.
The School of Greatness.
Really? Yeah.
Please welcome Lewis House.
Today, we're talking about how to build a seven-figure personal brand.
Yeah.
Because personal branding, I've been saying for the last year, is the only way to recession-proof yourself is by having a credible personal brand, a one built on trust and a powerful reputation.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about how to build a seven-figure personal brand today and beyond. And you did a big study and got a lot of data points on personal branding in general and what the general population thinks about personal branding. Do they buy more from people with personal brands? Do they believe people who have personal brands or not? And the value behind having a personal brand. So I'd love for you to dive in on some of the data points you got, what this study is, and then we'll talk about how we can use this to build your personal brand and monetize it throughout this interview.
Yeah, so our company, Brand Builders Group, we hired an independent research firm called the Center for Generational Kinetics to conduct an independent nationwide research study on trends in personal branding, because we've been talking about and teaching people to build their personal brands. I've been on the podcast, we've talked about it before. Personal branding has been this emerging space, right? Online business, influencers, social media, all this stuff that's been really fun and exciting. But we really wanted to look at what are the actual long-term impacts and what are the trends pointing to from a data-driven perspective. And is personal branding just a thing that affects a subgroup of entrepreneurs and this small culture? Or is it becoming bigger than that? And is it becoming more ubiquitous, meaning it applying to everybody? And so that's what we set out to study. And
how many people were part of this study?
Well, so it's a statistically valid sample that's weighted to the U.S. Census.
Got it.
So it has a plus or minus, I think it's a plus or minus 3% margin of error. So it's a completely empirically validated, it's the kind of study you'll hear people talk about on CNN and all that stuff.
Cool.
So whatever the sample size is, that they have to get, it's just more than 1,000 people, but weighted to the U.S. Census. So this is not an international study, so we should say that. But the summary is there's three main things that the data points very clearly to. Okay, number one, personal branding is the future. There are large discrepancies by generation in how personal branding affects their hiring, buying decisions, their trust decisions, which we will talk about. The second big thing is that personal branding is highly profitable. Not just for your influencer and their brand deals or your online marketer friend or your coach. Brand Builders Group, we work with, historically we worked with a lot of people like me and you that were authors and speaker types, which is just the world we came from. But more and more we've seen this kind of expanding group of clients, and that's part of why we wanted to study this.
Employees to CEOs and executives and everyone in between, not just Instagram influencer.
Yeah, not, and I think it's when you hear personal branding, people often think, your mind kind of goes to the influencer, right? Kind of the lifestyle influencer. They're maybe doing brand deals, sharing products or things like that, doing sponsorships, or towards the more thought leader expert category, which is more of what I personally...
Speaker, writer,
coach,
consultant.
Blog. But what personal branding really is, and what we're starting to see clearly, is that personal branding is simply the digitization of reputation.
Yes.
The digitization of reputation. So people like you, Gary Vaynerchuk, there's this whole group of people who saw early to go, well, I'm not exactly sure what this is, but I know it's huge.
The social media.
Social media. It's not just a fad.
Content, social media, online writing, blogs, videos, anything online
is a part of it.
Yes.
But I think, so this emerging area was like, oh yeah, there's this new, I mean, you were on the cover of Success Magazine as one of the new thought leaders, as was Gary and several other online influencers. And that's kind of the term, is influencers. But personal branding is becoming bigger than that. It is not just online influencer. It is reputation, which is a concept that's been around for decades, right? The average person goes, yeah, I have social media for friends, but they're not really recognizing that, oh, this is how I'm getting my jobs. This is how I'm going to get paid. This is if I'm going to get promoted. So
it's not about having 1 million followers. It's about the reputation you have with the followers you have.
Yeah, and in your space and in your industry. So for example, right? So I've got some of this data points here pulled up so that I don't misquote them, right? So 63% of all Americans say that they are more likely to buy from someone who has an established personal brand.
To buy from a company that has...
A person.
A person.
So like if you have a personal brand...
If I have no personal brand, you may not buy something.
That's right. 63% of Americans say I'm more likely to buy from you versus some stranger, whether you're selling me an information course or it's financial services
or product
or insurance or anything, fitness or anything.
Real estate.
Real estate. It doesn't matter. We trust people who have this thing called a personal brand. But here's the part about when we said it's the future. So it's 63% of all Americans. But in that group, okay, so there's a subset here, only 33% of boomers and only 59% of Gen Xers say they're more likely to buy from someone who has a personal brand, which means that for specifically to like boomers, it doesn't matter as much to them.
Right.
It's like not that big of a deal. But if you strip them out, 76% of millennials actually are more likely to buy from someone who has an established personal brand. So this points to an inevitable trend that is saying that the older generations have viewed personal branding as like a fad, a thing that kids do, digital online influencers, this thing I don't really understand. But the future is here. So older millennials are ages 35 to 44. These are the people with all the buying power, making all the decisions, taking over the boardrooms, scaling the companies, building the communities.
Raising money, building companies, all that stuff, yeah.
All that stuff. And specifically to millennials, this stuff influences everything. Who they hire, who they work for, who they,
who they follow online,
30%, okay, 30% of people say I'm more likely to date someone because they have an established personal brand.
Well, it's reputation and credibility and trust right away.
Yeah, that's true, right? I guess you feel like you know more about the person.
Or these people are following it. They have this thing and they have some testimonials. I'm more likely to trust them than someone who has none of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just fascinating to go, oh, this is coming into our dating life, how we hire, who we spend time with.
I've never been on any of the dating apps, the Tinders and Bumbles and all that stuff, but I've heard people say like, oh, I match with someone that I know and follow online with like someone I respect or trust, and they're probably more likely to mess with the person they know from online or they've seen online than if they didn't know them at all.
Yeah, and that is, so this is, I said there were three main findings.
Yes.
1, this is the future. 2, it's highly profitable. Here's the third one. It's a trust accelerator. A personal brand is a trust accelerator. And that is, you go, how do you build trust? Okay, first of all, we trust people that we see, right? That's why we trust celebrities, which is really funny because like movie stars, we don't even know their real name. We don't even know who they are in real life, but we trust them because we see them.
Crazy.
Right? So we trust people we see.
And we see them on TV.
On TV.
Or on a video.
Pretending to be someone they're not.
Right. Even if they're credible in real life or not, we just trust them.
Because we see them. So, and this is true in our everyday life, right? Like you trust whatever, your spouse, you trust your parents, you trust your colleagues, you trust the person at the grocery store that you see more than the stranger walking down the street that you've gone, I've never seen this person here. So we trust people we see. We also trust people that we learn from. And we trust people who entertain us. And then we trust people who we feel like we know intimate things about. So, you know, if you made a list, if I said, okay, Lewis, write down the 5 people you trust the most. It's probably not social media influencers. It's probably people, though, that really know you and that you really know. Like, you know all their dirty secrets. You know their past.
Yeah.
You also know where they like to shop, where they like to eat, what time do they wake up. And these are things that social media affords us the ability to do. To see you, to learn from you, to be entertained by you, and to know you.
To know intimate things about you.
Intimate things about you, right? When I came here, one of the first things I did was I shot a little little video here of your studio for our fans and followers and friends, right? Because people want to know, like, what does Lewis Howe's studio look like? Like, it's really fascinating. And I always struggle with this because for me, I haven't been great at social because I've not been super social. I've used it as like a broadcasting tool.
Right.
And I've always thought, I mean, what could be more useless than showing people what I ate for dinner? Like, why would anybody care? And then somebody asked me, they said, well, think about this. If you had a chance to follow your celebrity crush for a day, so like who would it be for you? Like if you had a chance to go, who would be your celebrity crush? Like if
when I was younger or something?
No,
or?
like right now. Like someone who walked in that you were like, oh man, if I could hang out with this person.
You mean a girl or a guy? It doesn't matter.
Not a
Okay,
girl, not a girl, but like a guy.
The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah.
So if he walked in, you'd like lose. He'd be like, this is legit.
This
like
is cool.
The Rock
I want to
here.
see what he's doing throughout his day, and
Yes. So if I said, okay, Lewis, I can't do this, but let's say I could.
Right.
I said, I can give you a chance to follow The Rock for an entire day.
Right.
But you can't talk to him. But you're going to be there right when he wakes up.
You're going to shadow him.
You're going to shadow him. You're going to be in every meeting. You get to listen to every phone call. You get to be in the car, on the plane. You get to see what he eats, what he wears, what his closet looks like. Even though you couldn't talk to him, would you do it? Would you?
Yeah, it'd be great.
Of course, it'd be fascinating, right? Well, that's how it is. It's people are interested in the intimate details of our life, and that is where trust comes from. And that is why this social media thing it's not just like a social thing. It's creating trust, reputation. And if I feel like I know you, then I can buy from you, I can hire you, I can date you, I can recommend you to other people. And that's what the data is pointing to.
Yes. And if you have recommendations from other people you trust about that person, you're more likely to hire, date, and buy from.
Yeah, so this was interesting. So one of the questions that we asked people is what are the most influential factors in making a decision about people that you buy from. Okay, so for example, we asked the question, how important are each of the following when it comes to paying someone for a product or service? And we listed out all these things because a lot of our clients at Brand Builders Group, our clients are interested in a lot of these things: a podcast, a TED Talk, right?
A book,
a YouTube. And we actually separated book into self-published book, New York Times bestselling, Wall Street Journal bestselling book, New York Times bestselling book. None of those things matter to people.
In terms of what? What a person has?
In terms of...
If you have a book, a podcast, a blog,
It's not that they don't matter. They do, but not as much as you would think.
Interesting. What does matter?
What matters most, more than anything, that is going to influence whether or not a stranger buys from you, 62% of people said that they have testimonials about their work. And 56%, this is of Americans, said that they are paid to consult or advise on their topic. So in other words, you have real life proof of delivering your service influences purchasing decisions more than how many followers you have, whether or not you have a book, and specifically the tier of best-selling book, right? You know how hard it is to become a New York Times best-selling author. It's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
And a lot of time and energy goes into doing it. Well, it matters in the industry. Like, you and I know that. We speak that language.
Right. But the general population.
No. For the person listening to this, your customer doesn't care. most of them don't even know the difference between a New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Amazon, USA Today. They don't know the difference.
If they see bestseller up there, it's all the same.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What they want to see is, did you help Sally Joe down the street actually get in better shape?
Yeah.
Or did you help her, heal her gut? Or did you help her, whatever, plan for retirement?
Right.
They want to see real life examples. And then the other thing is, it's really third-party credibility. They want testimonials.
Yep.
They want to see proof that you've been paid. They want to see proof that you're in the media. And then actually the fourth thing was fifth, was that they have a nice website. So that actually is, of all of the things that's kind of more markety, and is people care.
Having a good-looking personal brand website is important.
Mobile friendly, loads quickly. And
functional, not clunky,
But the number of followers you have
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter as much as you would think.
So having 1 million followers isn't the most important thing. It's a factor, but it may help you drive traffic somewhere, but it may not be the reason people buy.
Even older millennials, only 20% of them say, if someone has a lot of followers, that's influential to me. And here's the thing too.
So what is influential for most people? Having testimonials?
Yes. Having testimonials
is the most influential factor
in somebody doing business with you.
Wow.
Whether it's hiring. And so here's the thing. When you say having an established personal brand is more likely to get you hired, it is the thing that people look at when they're hiring you. You're going to also get paid more. So we haven't talked so much about we haven't talked about money yet, but you're actually going to make money from doing this. And it's a trust accelerator. So here's another one. I know we're throwing out a lot of data points, but the reason for the data points, just to take a minute on that, right, is to go, the data tells a story here that is important that I don't think the world talks about or understands. We think of it as like vanity. How many followers do I have? How many likes? Who's influential? Like, do you know so-and-so? But the data tells a story here that goes, it's not about that stuff. It's about showcasing your expertise and the value you provide in the world, and that people just want to see evidence of that.
Right.
And that if you show that, it is significant.
Wow.
Not the number of followers you have. And it matters for big companies too. So this blew my mind. 82% of all Americans believe that companies are more influential if their executives have a personal brand that they can follow, that they know and follow. And this makes so much sense, right? You go Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Steve Jobs, right? Bill Gates. There's a face, a personality that we can trust and know and relate with, rather than this kind of obscure
logo
entity. Yeah. It's just a logo. Now this can also work against you, because if your executive, does something like, again, reputation. We need to think of this less as personal branding and more as building reputation.
Yeah.
And a really interesting example here recently that was in the news, fairly recent, was Elon Musk smoked marijuana on the Joe Rogan podcast, and the stock went down 9%, like within a matter of days. Now it has since recovered, and there were some other things going on around that time, but it shows like that was such an accentuated, emphasized moment of going, people's trust is tied to the personality and the people in the business.
Which could help you accelerate the growth, or if you do something wrong, could hurt the company as well.
Yeah, it could decelerate. I mean, there's examples of this, right, on social media where it's kind of the whole cancel culture.
Absolutely, man. Affecting the business in a big way.
Yeah, in a big, big way.
Big way.
Big way.
What would you say are the most important elements to monetizing personal brand then? What are the important keys to monetizing once you know that testimonials, reputation in general, having a great website, media proof are the things that will support you and kind of getting people to be willing to buy from you? What are the elements to help you monetize?
Yeah, so monetizing is interesting. So the last time that we had a personal branding conversation here on the podcast, we talked about the 5 ways to monetize your personal brand.
Yes.
So you may remember we call them PAIDs.
Yes.
PAIDS.
Yep.
So basically that's going, these are 5 vehicles to take a pile of followers and turn it into a pile of cash.
Yes.
So the P is a product. Okay, so you're selling a physical product, a T-shirt, right? I got followers and like, hey, I made a T-shirt, buy my T-shirt, or here's my mug, like buy my mug, or a book, like
a physical product.
Yeah, a physical product. The A is ads and affiliates. So that is, I have an audience. Rather than selling my audience something, I'm going to sell someone else, typically a brand, access to my audience. All right, you got ads, you got sponsors for the show.
Yep.
So you've got a heavy ads and affiliate model. Your YouTube videos, you've got ads, right?
Yep.
You make money from ads and affiliates. That's part of your model. The I is information products, which has been an explosion in recent years in terms of monetizing the personal brand, because this is, they have low barriers to entry. And they have high value, perceived value. So courses, membership sites, certifications, assessments,
ebooks,
digital,
and this was hard to build these out 10 years ago. Now there's massive platforms that are allowing it to be so much easier to create a course or an ebook or a certification membership site. Whereas you had to build out custom stuff 10 years ago. Now there's a whole industry around this.
Yeah, and there's lots of tools and providers and stuff. D is deals. So that is anytime there's a third-party deal, a book deal, a TV deal, a licensing deal, where you're basically paid for creative work, irregardless of how well it sells.
Right.
Like royalties usually is associated with that. But the one to highlight here is services. So services are the fastest path to cash. It's selling your time. But even the way that we thought about personal branding previous to this national research study was that services was coaching, speaking, training, consulting, which is a lot of what we've done, you've done, things that we help, Brand Builders Group, we help a ton of our clients. But only about half of the clients, a little more than half of the clients do that. We're noticing that it's all these other people, accountants, lawyers, doctors, financial advisors, real entrepreneurs, meaning that they're not just like an expert entrepreneur. I don't mean like real, like you're not, but they have a widget that's not their expertise somehow.
Yes.
Direct salespeople, and then even executives now are hiring us. A great example of this, it was a big, bold move, is Glenn Sanford. And I haven't introduced you to him, but have you?
I've got connected to him. We've been texting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Glenn Sanford is a billionaire founder of eXp Realty, which is one of the fastest, if not the fastest growing real estate company in the world, right? So we met Glenn. We started working with Glenn as a client, and then he bought Success Magazine.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So Glenn didn't have much of a social media following, but
now he
bought one.
He bought
a massive.
Yeah.
So he's got credibility and audience and reach because and it's not just money. I mean, it's not money for him. I mean, like he's a billionaire. Like money's not the thing, but impact is, reputation is, trust is, feeling like you're doing something good in the world, and they all work together. So on the professional services thing, because we had a fascinating kind of like little data point on this, like you go, okay, I get personal branding if you are an expert of some type, but what if you're a doctor? So 61% of Americans believe their doctor should have an established personal brand.
Why?
I guess trust.
Because I think if they have it, they'll trust them more.
Well, your doctor is it's a pretty intimate relationship, right? I mean, literally, like you see everything of a person and you go, do I like this person? Do I trust them? Do I believe in them, right? Going back to that thing I said earlier that people, 82% of Americans said that a company is more influential if their founder has a belief system that aligns with them.
Wow.
This is what we're looking for. Another way of saying this, right, is people don't do business with companies. They do business with people.
Yes.
People that are real, people that we can trust, people that we can know intimate details about. And so it's not just their doctor. It is 58% of Americans believe their lawyer should have a personal brand. 55% think their banker should. Their coach, their financial advisors, their chiropractors.
Everyone.
I mean, we didn't ask about everyone. We asked about these. But what we can definitely say is that people want their professional service providers to have a personal brand. And we can also say that people are more likely to engage with a company if the executives have a personal brand. So, in fact, we asked this question specifically. 67% of all Americans, and if you just do millennials, it's 76.5%, are willing to spend more money with these companies if they're connected to the person. So, again, all of these are just different data points that tell the same story. Personal branding is transcending this influencer space. It's transcending the thought leader space. And it is becoming ubiquitous and pervasive in who gets promoted, who gets hired, who gets on the board, who gets equity, which company gets funded, even who we date.
Wow.
And who we're friends with. It's fascinating stuff. So you asked the question about turning it into money.
Yes.
So I said earlier that the fastest path to cash is services.
Yes.
We would modify that a little bit now to say the fastest path to cash is to monetize the thing you're already doing.
Like what?
Whatever it is you're doing. You're an accountant. You're a lawyer.
Right.
So I think there's been this thought of going, oh my gosh, so I'm going to use my personal brand to launch a side business. And actually it's going, no, I should use my personal brand to blow up my direct sales business and pour fuel on the fire, or to get myself promoted, or to get myself more clients for my practice of whatever type of practice it is. It's not going, oh, I got to go create an information product.
Right.
It can be that. It historically has been that, but this is the migration that is happening here, which is interesting. And it was interesting to me to see, when Success Magazine did that cover article, and you were on there, and Brendan was on there,
CA, and
several
Trent Shelton,
Marie Forleo, and Trent Shelton. I think
Tim Ferriss,
Rachel Cruz. There. Yeah, I mean, it was really really fascinating. It said the new thought leaders, and it's because people trust you guys,
right? Because
they see you, they're entertained by you, they learn from you, they feel like they know you. It's not because you guys have the most PhDs. It's not because you're winning the Nobel Prizes for research. It's a much more human experience, that's just widely available to all of us.
So how do we build the $1 million personal brand then? What's the steps? Is it just start creating content? Is it being strategic about certain moves you're going to make? Is it partnerships? Is it press? Is it podcast? Like, what are the steps to building it?
Yeah. Well, the most important step is the first step, which is the step that everybody skips. And I shared this, a while ago when we had this conversation when we first started working together, that the best piece of personal branding advice I've ever received was from a guy named Larry Winget.
Yes.
And he said, the goal is to find your uniqueness so that you can exploit it in the service of others. Find your uniqueness so you can exploit it in the service of others. So you need to find your uniqueness. How
do we find it?
Yeah, well, we did that whole interview together where we walked you through our Brand DNA Helix, which is one of the Brand Builder Group kind of frameworks. So that you can reference that, I'm not going to walk you through all of that here, but I'll tell you, we found a shortcut since then that's worth sharing.
Nice.
Okay, so because this is a struggle, right? How do I find my uniqueness? It's almost like saying, how do I find my purpose? How do I find my passion? And this is, now that we've coached hundreds of people, we've been at this for coming up on like 3 years now, and this is all we do all day. We started to recognize a consistent theme and a shortcut, and here's what it is. You are always most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were.
Oh, yes, it's great.
You're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were.
Yes. So I was 100 pounds overweight, and I'm not there anymore.
Bingo.
I'm positioned to help anyone who's over 100 pounds overweight.
Do that thing.
I was in debt $100,000.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey, right?
And I got out of it. And here's the process and how I got out of it.
He was bankrupt, and and that's his whole story. And it can be you or someone close to you. So I also think about, we have a mutual friend, Dr. Josh Axe, right? I believe this was the diagnosis. I believe his mom got diagnosed with cancer. And so he went on a mission to learn about food, to use food as medicine. He makes that basically his life pursuit to cure his mom. As a result of that, he starts answering questions for friends. He starts sharing that on social, and now they have Ancient Nutrition. I think it's called Ancient Nutrition, and it's like
massive
a
business.
9-figure business, like monster business. But it came out of not a desire to make money, but a desire to solve a problem. Mm-hmm. And that is the genesis of personal branding, is going, what problem do I solve? What problem can I solve? What problem do I want to dedicate my life to solving?
Or at least a season of my life.
At least the next season of my life.
Wow.
Because that's what makes you come alive. And for you, when we had this conversation, it was back in 2018.
Yeah.
Self-doubt was the word that you were like, I want to help people overcome self-doubt and achieve greatness. So at that time, I told you this earlier today, I was looking at my notes. You had 30 million total downloads.
It's crazy to think that. 2018.
That was only 2018.
Gosh.
You
it
focused.
It must have been more. It must have been a little more out of the hell.
I'm telling you.
30 million.
And
now we have 350 million.
350 million. 10x'd in less, like half the time it took to get there.
Right.
And you've done a great job of being super clear on what problem you're after, what you're trying to solve, and what you're trying to help people achieve, and your business model also. You've eliminated several things, and you guys have gone all in, and here we are in this beautiful studio. And I think that's the call for all of us is, I think the title of this is something like How to Build a 7-Figure Personal Brand.
You got to first know what your personal brand is.
Yeah, what your uniqueness is. And what I would say is, if you focus on the money, you may compromise your reputation along the way.
Interesting. You may do things that aren't of the highest level of integrity, or that you don't necessarily want to be doing, or that might hurt people, or whatever it may be.
You could burn out. Yeah. You could hurt people. It's just, if you focus on the money, then you could compromise your reputation. But if you focus on the purpose
or the mission
of solving the problem, and you go, what problem can I solve? And think about all the great guests that you have. I mean, not so much the celebrity guests maybe, but like the doctors and the psychologists and these people dedicate their life to studying this area of going, I want to help people with this. And that's where you start. So you have to find your uniqueness.
And what's that question? What is my uniqueness?
Well, yeah. So the Brand DNA Helix is 6 questions of that. At the uniqueness lives at the intersection of those 6 questions.
Yes.
So just to rattle them off, what problem do you solve?
Yep.
Okay. And then what are you passionate about? So you brainstorm the answers to all these questions. And then at the intersection is where the uniqueness is. So what am I passionate about? Then what do I research, which is what do I have academic or head knowledge of? And then what do I have results in? So that is, what do I have experience doing? What have I done? That one kind of points to you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. And then the last 2 questions address the business model, which is, what are the things people would buy from me, which are the paids? There's 5 different basically things you could make. And then you compare that with what business do I want to be in? And that was where we talked about dares. Do you remember the dares?
Yes, I love the dares.
So the dares is a checklist.
What business do I want to be in? That's the last question.
What business do I want to be in? So the dares is a checklist of characteristics that sort of describe, I guess, the closest thing to a perfect business model, I guess, if there is such a thing.
These are dares.
You're looking for dares. So you're looking for things that are digital,
Yes.
automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go look for dares, you go, okay, it's digital. If it's digital, that means I don't have manufacturing costs, I don't have shipping, I don't have warehousing, I don't have logistics, it's digital. If it's automated, it's self-service. It's like I don't need a bunch of staff to like service people.
Yes.
It's automated. It's recurring, which is they pay and they keep paying.
Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix. Yep. And that recurring revenue also affects the overall valuation of a company.
Yeah.
So that can have tremendous, long-term financial impacts. Evergreen means it never needs to be updated, right? So you never have to you build the thing and then you never have to update it. And then the S, scalable means that you can add a lot of customers without adding a lot of infrastructure.
Right.
And so there's a difference between growth and scale. So growth is I can grow revenues, but I kind of have to like grow expenses.
Build a team and all this.
Build a team to go with it. Scale means I can grow revenues and the fixed expenses, the team don't have to grow proportionately.
Small amount maybe of growth. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like a variable cost kind of a thing.
So you want to ask yourself these 6 questions. And the last one being, what business do I want to be in? Figuring out what's the business model.
What's the perfect business model
for me?
Yeah, and there's many different business models, but there's not a best business model. There's only a best business model for you.
Right.
And so when you're trying to figure out what is my best business model,
like I don't want to build a software company.
Yeah.
Because I don't understand building programs and managing it and software. Like that's not something I understand, and it doesn't excite me. It doesn't light me up.
So
I'm not researching it all day. I'm not passionate about it. All these things. I haven't gotten people results in this software. Maybe in the future I could do it if I had the right partner, but it's not.
Or you just be an investor.
Exactly, I can invest in it, but it's not the one thing I want to drive every day with my time and energy.
Because if you did it, it would be, because building a software company has top line valuations, I could get a huge multiple, have a big exit, make money, and be happy. And you go, no, I'm miserable doing this thing.
Right.
Because it's not your uniqueness. It's not the design of your life. It's not the reason that you're here.
Yeah.
Because we believe that the things that you've done in your past are hints and evidence and clues as to what your uniqueness is.
Yes.
But also, the calling of your future is a hint and clue to what your uniqueness is. What you feel called towards gives us evidence of what your uniqueness is. And so it's like if you don't feel a compelling call there for any reason other than like money or something, that's not in the direction that we would advise you go because it's just not worth it.
Right.
And so when you're looking at what is the best business model, you take in factors like what you said, like what is my education? What are my passions? The question's right out of the brand DNA Helix here.
What would I want to spend my time doing every day?
Yeah, like what would you do Saturday afternoon at 2:30? Like if you could do anything, like that could be a thing. That's a place that you look. Now that might not be the answer by itself. You have to factor in how would you make money, and that's why it's like this. These 6 questions overlap, but that's what you're looking for, because it's truth. There's not a right answer. There's just a right answer for you.
Yes.
It's not truth. It's just what's your truth.
Right.
So you pick a problem. You pick an audience, you pick a business model, and then you said, like, how do you build a personal brand after that? So from there, usually what you do is you would extrapolate this into a body of work. If you were going to kind of build it like more of like that expert business, that's how you would do it. But part of the realization, again, coming back to the study, is going, so many people have already built the thing that they should use their personal brand to drive towards.
Right.
They just need to focus on leveraging and building their personal brand to drive towards that thing. It's a formula that we talk about called the reputation formula. Mm-hmm. Results times reach equals reputation. Results times reach equals reputation. Let's take financial advisor, okay? So financial advisors have all of this education. They're a CFP and a CHLC, and you get all these
Series 7,
Series 7,
Series 6.
all these licenses. They have all these results, all this knowledge. The problem is, if I don't know about you, I cannot buy from you.
Right.
I can't do business with you. So reach matters, and your personal brand is the fastest way to get that reach. And a lot of the top advisors in the world, or at least in the country right now, are building their personal brand, and they're driving leads that they're just passing to their team.
There's so many, when people think about personal branding and creating content online, there are so many different things that they could do to build their personal brand. Podcasting, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, white papers, infographics, photos, speeches, books, courses. There's all these things they could press. There's all these things they could do. What should they be thinking about first?
Yeah. So the number one thing to think about is, how can I add value to the audience? Right? That's what it ultimately comes down to. The strategy is much more important than the technology. How can I add value to the audience? How can I, and your social media strategy is one of the 3 E's. You're either going to educate, encourage, or entertain. And usually it's some mix of the 3. I happen to not be super entertaining. I live more in the educating and with bursts of encouragement that kind of come in there. But you're going, how can I teach what I know? And here's the other thing. We all take for granted what we know. We have something called the curse of knowledge. If I'm a financial advisor, I assume, well, obviously everybody knows what a 401k is. Nobody knows what a 401k is.
Right.
Like, nobody understands any of that stuff. Like, nobody understands your industry terms. This is for every industry. Like, people go, oh, well, of course everyone knows about gut health. People don't even know what the gut is. Like, they don't have time to do anything other than the stuff they do in their life. So you have value, and what you do is you basically, I love Jay Baer is a friend of mine, and basically his whole content marketing strategy is just be useful. Teach everything you know for free, but teach it one bite at a time and in all random order. Because, and so sometimes people get nervous, Lewis, they go, well, how is this going to help me build a 7-figure brand if I'm giving away everything for free? Well, you have to realize people don't pay for information, they pay for organization and application.
What does that mean?
It means that I could teach you how to eat healthy. It doesn't mean you're going to go to the grocery store, buy the right groceries, cook up the right food, and then eat and weigh yourself every week and da-da-da. You need the application. Yes. You need someone to help create a custom meal plan, hold you accountable, track you to the thing.
Right.
We all know to lose weight we should exercise more, but we don't actually do it. Like we need someone to help us apply it. Brand Builders Group is a great example, right? Like here we are, we're teaching you all this. Like we're teaching you all these concepts. There's a lot of people out there listening right now that are still going to go, okay, I need someone to help me walk through and apply the brand DNA helix to my situation. I need someone to help me apply this data to my business. I need it's the application part that is the hard part.
Right.
And I think actually this is again a trend that's changing in personal branding. Personal branding started early on very much in that kind of info marketing kind of a space.
Nice.
And I would even say there's some negative connotation and a little bit of scamminess that has, probably caused some people to be reluctant to kind of like get into personal branding or online marketing. But it's changing because information is commoditized. You give away the information for free, but people need you to help them apply it.
It's the packaging of it and the application. Or would you say the application and the what?
The organization.
The package, the organization. Yeah.
And the application, the application of it. So that's what they need.
Right.
And that is the best way to garner attention, is to be useful, is to share what you know, to teach what you have. The goal is not, I will share a little bit and then you got to pay me for the goods. That's a scarcity mindset based on information.
Share the goods and pay me for the packaging.
Assistance.
Yeah. The application, the packaging, the holding your hand, the walking you through it, the accountability, all that stuff.
Right, yeah. And if you're, again, just I'm using the financial advisor just because I'm using it here, right? It's like you're teaching people, and if you're doing a good job, like you're teaching people, oh yeah, here's how to evaluate mutual funds, and here's things you can do. And like, there's going to be a few people that will do it on their own, but most people, the more they learn, the more they're going to go like, this is crazy. I need an expert. Like, can you just do this for me?
Yeah.
That's what you want, right?
Yeah.
Like, when somebody sees, oh, there's a whole strategy to launching books and to getting keynotes and to, building this stuff out, and they go, yeah, I think I'll give Brambittle's group a call.
Right.
Like, some of them will go do it themselves. That's fine. The worst case scenario there is you're helping people and you're impacting the world. But more people than not will go, I like you, I trust you, I've learned from you, I see the value in what you're offering, I would like to hire you. Mm-hmm. And that is true whether it is hiring you as a professional service provider, an expert, or hiring you for the company, right? Like, if I'm going to hire you to the company, guess what? I'm going to look at your LinkedIn profile.
Absolutely.
I'm going to look at your Facebook page. I want to read, and the most important part on your LinkedIn profile is I want to read the endorsements of all your past employers and what they said about you.
Right.
That's what I want to see, testimonials.
And you said it's the first thing we want to think about is the strategy, not the platform. Is that what you said? Think about the
strategy is more important than technology.
Because a lot of people will say, well, should I launch a YouTube channel? Should I do a podcast? Should I be on Instagram? Should I do Facebook Live every morning? They think about the platform, the technology of where they should be or what they should be creating. And that's probably not the best question to ask first, is it?
No,
it's strategy. How can I be most useful?
How can I be most useful? Where are my people at?
Where's my audience? And not, Sally Joe is doing YouTube videos every day, so I should do YouTube videos because it looks cool and this is happening over there.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do it because Lewis does it. Don't do it because,
Is my audience on YouTube? Is my audience consuming this content? Or am I passionate about being on video? Do I enjoy this process? Is it something I'd have fun doing, like you said in these questions? Then maybe YouTube's a place to go.
Yeah, now what's cool, this is something I don't think we've ever talked about here, is the content diamond. So the content diamond, what's really cool about media is a multiplier. Right, and so you mentioned procrastinating on purpose and my TED Talk, how to multiply time, right? You multiply time by spending time on things today that create more time tomorrow. Well, what we're also just kind of realizing is media is one of the great forms of is a multiplier, because if I create a video today, then every day that video is out there. That video is like an employee. It's working for me to find new people.
It's getting audience, getting attention, getting leads, getting traffic, getting them trust, reputation for you without you doing any more extra work.
Right.
I was mentioning to you this beforehand that I think it's 3 or 4 of our top viewed videos in the last 30 days are from videos that are 1, 2, 3 years ago.
Amazing.
That keep getting views that we spent an hour or 2 hours doing years ago, and they're getting hundreds of thousands of views right now this month working for us. So that investment in media is paying dividends years later and will continue to. And it becomes a flywheel, whatever platform you're building on. The more consistent you are with time, usually it pays off dividends the longer you're on there.
Yeah, and you're such a rolling stone, buddy. I mean, you know how much I believe in you, and it's you've done all these things, and now you've got multiple media assets that are all synergistically
working together,
feeding each other, and it's like it's a snowball that gets bigger and bigger and faster and faster. It's incredible. So coming back to the content diamond, so the way the content diamond works is pretty simple. We encourage our clients, like, here's the whole technical strategy. Shoot 1 5-minute video every week. That's it. On your 5-minute video, answer one question. Teach one tip. That's it. It could be less than 5 minutes, but 5 minutes. And then here's what's amazing about video. You're going to take that video and you're going to split it. This is how the content diamond works, okay? We're going to split it on 2 paths. One path is what we call the text and imagery path. The other path is video and audio. Okay, so someone from your team, if you don't have a team, it's you, but if you have a team, they're going to take that video and they're going to upload it to a tool like TEMI, TEMI, or Rev.com, or SpeechPad. There's a bunch of these, which is an automatic transcription service. Mm-hmm. And they're going to transcribe that article. From that transcription, someone's going to edit that article into a full-length post that you can put on LinkedIn Pulse and Medium. But it's in your voice because it was literally your voice. Yeah. Then they're going to select 2 or 3 catchphrases from the article that they're going to turn into image quotes for Instagram and Pinterest.
And Facebook or whatever.
And Facebook and whatever. Simultaneously, while that's happening on the text and imagery path, someone's going to take the raw video and they're going to add a little polish to it. Lower thirds, a little bit maybe of some B-roll, some stock imagery, some stock music. Maybe they drop a fancy bumper like an opener and an outro. And now all of a sudden you've got this semi-polished, nice YouTube video that you post in full on YouTube. But then you could post a 60-second version of that on TikTok, a 2-minute version of that on IGTV. Yep. And you disassemble this 1 5-minute video into all of these mini assets. So the 5-minute video is like your main asset, and then you disassemble it into mini assets, and then the diamond comes together. So you start here, the diamond comes together at the bottom, post all of it on your blog, your website. So the one place where people can get all of it. Oh, by the way, your video, you can strip the audio off the video, and podcast. Now you have a short form podcast. Right. So now you're a podcaster, you didn't even know it. Yeah. But the one place to go to see the full-length video, the full-length article, an audio player, the pull-out, the 2 or 3 pull-out quotes is on your blog, which is traffic you own, where you optimize it for Google and SEO, and you build subscriber base. And in addition to supporting the social media sites and building an audience there, you also are curating an experience on your website, which matters tremendously long-term for search results and things like that.
So a lot of people think, I've got to work on all these platforms and create content for all these things, but really what should you be thinking about is, how do I create a great piece of content for 5 minutes, or roughly around there, once a week, and really think about that piece of content.
Yes.
Whether it's scripting or bullet points or whatever, to make sure you have everything in that one piece that will then be distributed to all these other places, as opposed to thinking, I got to be an expert on all these other places and build content for them. Just build one piece of great content. That's what we do here. We do 3 times a week, and we do it in video, audio, text, image, graphics, all that stuff, and we built the team to do that. There are services out there that can do this for you too. Yeah. Do you guys do this at Brand Builders?
So at Brand Builders, we do exclusively personal brand strategy, right? So we're what a CMO is to a company is what we are to a personal brand. So we only work with people. We don't work with companies. Now we work with executives and service providers that work at a company, but we work on that person's face. It's personal brand strategy. But we have a whole trusted vendor partner network, and we've got a bunch of them. You need a video editor, you need a book editor, you need we connect the clients to all those people.
What's the biggest problem that people have when they come and work with you?
It is dilution. It is diluted focus.
They have too many opportunities. They're not sure where to put their time. They want to do a book and a course and a TED Talk and a social media content and a podcast, and they want to do all of it, and they're not sure where to start.
Yeah, and when you have diluted focus, you get diluted results.
Right.
That's right. Good old Take the Stairs book, which has been out for years now. But people struggle to get clear on what is their uniqueness.
Yes.
who do they serve, what is their business model, and what is their methodology, right? So Brand Builders Group as a curriculum, we actually have one curriculum that's divided into 12 like courses. But in our phase one, which is like our first 3 courses, really help people just get clear on what problem do I solve, who do I solve it for, how do I solve it, how do I make money. They got to select and be clear on that uniqueness first before you try to add scale. What people do is they go out and they try to build audience right away. They do it completely backwards, because what you have is you have a way to make money, and then you have your online presence like your website, and then you have traffic sources. The proper way to build it is get clear on how you're going to make money and what the product offer is, then build your reputation, your website, a professional presentation, then worry about traffic.
Right.
People do the opposite. They go straight to social media and go, how do I get a lot of followers? And then I got to try them. Oh shoot, I need to build a website. And then it's like, oh, okay, how do I turn those people into money? And so their strategy is
backwards,
completely backwards. And then they go, this doesn't work. Why should I do it? And for a while it was like, well, you don't have to, because this is personal branding is a thing. But now the data is saying, no, this is the future. It is more profitable, and it's an accelerator of trust. And if you miss this, right, like this is your last chance. I mean, like Gary Vee's been out there talking about this for a minute.
For 10 years.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
And some of us have been watching and been like, okay, that's kind of cool. And gosh, I see what it's been for him, but I don't have his style, and
right.
I don't cuss like that, and
I'm not a big personality.
I don't want to write a book. Yeah, I'm not a personality. I don't want to be a speaker. But it's like, if you've been thinking that, you missed it. Like he'd been talking about it, and now I'm here telling you the data is here saying the time is now. Like millennials, older millennials, younger millennials, and Gen Z, this is what they look at to build trust
and buy from,
which means that's who they buy from, that's who they hire, that's who they refer, that's who they date, that's who they recommend, that's who they share.
And what you say, if someone is not on social media, even with a small little personal brand, you might wonder, like, I don't know who this person is at all. I can't find them online. Now it's like, if they don't have LinkedIn, if they don't have Instagram or Facebook, and you can't see anything, what are they hiding? Is there something, can I really trust this person? Again, like you said, if you can't see them, it's hard to trust them. And the person you see more, you learn to trust more.
Yeah, we trust the familiar, and we distrust the unfamiliar.
Yeah, the unknown.
The unknown,
yeah,
whether it's online or it's walking down the street. If if it's nighttime and someone's walking at me, I don't recognize them, I distrust them. Not because I'm racist or a scaredy cat or a coward or anything.
Right.
It's just unfamiliar. Like, I don't know who you are, like I distrust that. And this is part of the big point, right? Is that you cannot think of personal branding as online marketing. It's not. Personal branding is the digitization of reputation.
Yes.
It is building trust, making impact, growing your influence, and it is the future, and it is profitable, and you can use it to monetize the thing you're already doing.
Yes.
And that is how you build a 7-figure personal brand.
We covered a lot today. We covered the data around personal branding. We've covered the elements that are important to personal branding, how to build the $1 million personal brand. We talked about reputation, testimonials, paids, the different revenue streams. We also talked about the questions you need to ask yourself in order to figure out what your uniqueness is. We talked about dares. We've talked about all these different things and formulas, the content diamonds, so many things. And for people that are wanting more, I want you to know that Rory is a partner of mine, and I only have a couple people that I do partnerships with on stuff that I don't think I can do as well. And you have Brand Builders Group. I think we've sent over 1,000 leads to you plus, and hundreds of people who have gone through your trainings, your strategies, and helped execute on what their uniqueness is, how to figure out their revenue streams, how to help them build their TED Talks, their book proposals, all these different processes for building personal brand. And we created a little video for you guys. If you want to learn more, you can go to lewishowes.com/brand-call to get a free call from someone on your team just to ask them about their goals.
Yep.
Ask them about their goals, what their future looks like, what they're trying to create, and if it might be helpful for you or your team to support them in building their personal brand and executing these things. So if you guys are interested, go to lewishowes.com/brand-call. You can schedule a time with someone on Rory's team to learn more. So many people that are influencer friends of mine have been through the programs and the process you guys created and rave about the results they get. So many people you've had have been New York Times bestselling authors.
Yeah.
From this process. People have built multiple million-dollar brands.
Viral TED Talks.
Big book launches, course launches, all these
social
things.
Social media follower growth.
Yeah, so you work with the best of the best in this space. And there's only one person I recommend, and it's Rory. So make sure you guys check it out, lewishowes.com/brand-call. We're going to be doing a series around personal branding, productivity, confidence and mindset, because I think a lot of it, when people have the strategy and the tactic, even if you have the best strategies and tactics, you still need the belief in yourself. You still need the skill set in order to have the confidence to put yourself out there. Because when you put yourself out there, you're going to get negative comments, feedback, hate, people trying to tear you down. And that holds a lot of people back. So we're going to teach you through this series with Rory that will be dropping over a few months, more of these things and more on how to monetize with your personal brand using these other skills and mindset strategies. So make sure you follow Rory. What's your best place to follow you online? Is it Instagram right now? Or is it?
On social, yeah. But if you go to roryvadenblog.com, but I would just say go to lewishowes.com/brand-call. Request the call. You do that, you'll get connected to me. And
there you go.
But yeah, I'm out there on social.
He's out there. Rory Vaden everywhere. You can check out one of his books, Take the Stairs or Procrastinate on Purpose. If you want to learn how to multiply time, make sure to check these out as well. Rory Vaden, we're going to be doing a series, so we'll see you back here soon. And thanks so much for being here and teaching us these strategies, man. Appreciate you.
Always a pleasure, brother. And just remember, the calling that you feel on your heart to go out and do this is the result of a signal that's being sent out by someone else who needs you right now more than you need them.
Amen. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Rory Vaden, and I had him on a while back to talk more in depth about building an influential personal brand, and I think you'll really love this interview with him as well. A few months back, I called you because I felt like I was at a crossroads in my brand and in my business. And for whatever reason, I said, I think Rory can help me. And you've done so much work over the last 15 years in multiple different areas of business. From, live events, door-to-door sales, to building a bigger brand, to helping influencers, to writing New York Times best-selling books. You've done it all. You've done a lot of different things in terms of building a personal brand, building a company, and you've helped a lot of people do that. And I just said, for some reason, I think you can help me kind of take my vision to a new level and gain clarity for my personal brand, my level of reach and influence that I want to take to the next level. And I felt like I had done a pretty good job up to this point, but just felt like I needed someone to help give clarity with everything happening in my head. So I called you up. I went to Nashville, I think a week or two later, brought Caesar, Matt, and we spent 2 days diving into, which was one of the most powerful experiences of my professional life, I would say.
Wow.
Was diving in and gaining clarity on who I am, the brand I'm building, where I'm headed, and the business that I'm in. And we learned some incredible things. And so I wanted to dive into what we learned and really how anyone, if you have a brand right now, a personal brand that you're looking to build, and you're looking to leverage your reach to generating more revenue and more impact, to helping everyone listening who wants to build a personal brand, how to make it clear decisions so that it's much easier in the process. So that's what I wanted to do today, is to kind of go over some of the things that we went over in 2 days, in an hour, and help people just have incredible results in their personal brand.
Well, I love it. And you were doing more than an okay job. You were doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
And I have to say, man, it's such an honor to get that phone call from you, because I mean, I know you could have called anybody.
Right.
And, you know, when you called me and AJ, and it was late at night, and it was like, I mean, I probably hadn't talked to you in a year.
Has it been that long?
It had been a minute.
Some emails,
some emails.
texts here and there.
But it was like, and it was late at night. I was like,
what's going on?
What's up? Yeah, like, and then you're like, hey, I think you were the one that can help me with this. And
yeah.
So yeah, let's, whatever you want to talk about, man.
Yeah, man.
Let's do it.
It was very powerful, and it's been a lot to reflect on. What was it, like 6 weeks ago, maybe almost 2 months ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a few
while,
weeks, yeah.
And it's been a lot to reflect on. And we're still implementing a lot of the things that you share with us. But I wanted to break down a rough overview of some of the things that we went over in 2 days, and then kind of share with people what they can do at home to really get clear on how they're going to build their own celebrity, influential, personal brand.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we talked about, which you've designed and developed, which I think is really cool, is, and correct me if these names are wrong, figuring out your brand DNA. So, and an overview of that is finding your uniqueness and exploiting it in the service of others, which is not your quote.
It's a quote from Larry Winget. Yeah.
Larry Winget. So first off, discovering what your brand DNA is, essentially who you are, who you're serving, and how you're going to serve them. And then going into the brand helix, which for me was huge. We'll talk about the brand helix in a minute.
Yep.
Then figuring out what business you are actually in. And you do that by structuring, we did a session with you, and a lot of these were discussions where you just asked us questions.
Yeah.
So what are all of the revenue streams that you have? And I think we had like 7 or 8 main revenue streams that we counted. And we thought we were in one business, but based on revenue streams, you were like, well, actually you're in this business. And you're moving
Which
into this
we were
business.
both surprised by.
Exactly. Crazy.
Neither one of us. So we'll talk about how to know what business you're really in.
What business you're really in, which is going to be helpful for the future of your brand. Creating your yes and no list, which has been a game changer for me, because I said yes to so many things because I felt like, well, there's great money here, there's great money here, there's great opportunity here, but it hurts the brand in certain things and it hurts your time. You can't multiply time when you say yes to these things. We'll talk about that. Dares, which you haven't talked about publicly yet, which I'm excited to share.
Yes, never shared that publicly, this concept of dares.
And dares is something we still have on our wall that we wrote down because it's the thing we think about.
I saw it in Matt's office when I walked in.
It's the thing that we think about when creating anything now. Does it have dares?
These components.
Was that 5 components?
Yeah.
5 components when launching any product service. It must have the dares, so make sure you listen to that. Your brand mantra, talking about your reputation, how to build reputation. We talked about a lot of other things, but I think these are some of the things we'll cover today.
Well, and starting with reputation and just what is personal branding, I think is huge, because so Brand Builders Group, we don't brand companies. We brand people. And we believe that the future of branding is not about companies. It's about individual people, and it's all based on your personal reputation. And if you think about it, you know, like you give me a phone call, I don't just take a phone call from anybody at 9:45 on a whatever night it was, but it's like when I see Lewis Howes Mobile, it's like, hey, something, you know, Lewis must need something, right? Pick it up. And that is based on your reputation. And so when we think about personal branding, I think a lot of times our mind goes to, oh, my logo, my website. Those things are important, but the essence of a personal brand starts with a person's reputation. And you can design a logo in a week, but it takes years to build what we call a rock solid reputation. And
how long does it take to ruin a reputation?
I mean, a reputation can be ruined in minutes.
Crazy, right?
It can be ruined in minutes. It can one bad decision, and there's many examples of this, right? And I think one reason I feel drawn to you, I feel like God draws me to you, is because I believe you're going to become one of the biggest celebrities of our time, and I know that you're going to have a lot coming at you, and a lot of people coming to you, lots of opportunities, and no shortage of temptation in any variety of fashions. And I know your heart about what your reputation is and how you've built it, and I want to be somebody that is like a bumper lane for you to help do that. And so, you know, when you think of reputation too, as it relates to our business, one of the things that AJ and I realized, so AJ is my wife and my business partner. She's co-founder of Brand Builders Group. And we realized that for a company, especially a small company, but even for big companies, a lack of revenue is what we all think about. It's what we all talk about, like, oh, we need more revenue, we need more money. But a lack of revenue is not your greatest problem. A lack of reputation is your greatest problem.
Why is that?
Because reputation precedes revenue, right? Reputation is about trust. It's about faith. It's about conviction. It's about belief. And so we created something called the reputation formula, which I haven't shared this with you, so I'm interested to get your thoughts. But basically, the reputation formula works like this. Results times reach equals reputation. Results times reach equals reputation. So your results are the results you've delivered in your life, the results you've accumulated or accomplished for yourself, but also the results you've accomplished for your clients. It's the things that you have done or that you've helped people do. Right. Now, results can be positive or negative.
Yeah, if you have no results and no following, then your reputation is
bad, yeah.
Right.
But you can also have a negative reputation. So the reputation formula isn't about positive or negative, because the results part can be positive or negative. Now the reach part can't be negative, but it can be zero. So even if you have the greatest results, if you have the world's best widget or the best company or you're the smartest person ever, those are great results. But if your reach is zero, then your reputation is still zero. Because if people don't know about you, they can't do business with you. So if you have great results and a lot of reach, that's Mother Teresa, right? She's well respected for delivering this service to people. Now, if you have horrible results and a lot of reach, you're Osama bin Laden, right? You did something horrible and a lot of people knew about it, and that's a very bad reputation. So it can be positive or negative, but at the end of the day, the size of the reputation is a result of the size of the result times the reach.
Yeah.
And so that informs your personal brand, which reputation precedes revenue. So that informs your ability, dictates your ability really about what your personal brand is going to be worth.
So should people be focusing on revenue or reputation first?
People should absolutely 100% be focused on reputation first.
Reputation. And reputation means doing something good, adding value, and building an audience.
Yeah, well, building the audience I think is separate. Okay, so if you just doing something good is the results, and it's years, and you have to do it right. Here's the thing, building a business, my personal opinion, building a business is not nearly as valuable as building a reputation. You can build a business, you can generate lots of revenues. There's lots of business models you can get in. You can build
an Amazon business, you can build a
whatever.
And hair salon, you can do anything.
And there's ways you can make money, right? Like I could probably go open a check into cash, like a payroll, like a payday loan thing, and make a lot of money. I'm personally not going to do that. It's not bad that if that's your thing, fine. But for me, and for all of us, and I think this is the point, is you got to define in your life what you're going to say yes to and what you're going to say no to. What is inbounds and what is out of bounds? What are the things that you consider acceptable, that you want your reputation associated with, and what are the things that you don't? And that is really, really important. And so you have to make that decision that your reputation matters more. Your reputation matters more than money, more than revenue. It matters more than refunding that customer, right? Like if the customer is upset, refund them the money if it's cost. Like your reputation is so much more valuable than one customer. And I think, again, one of the reasons I'm drawn to you and why you call and I answer and you say, hey, I need help and I'm there, is because you've done that, Lewis. And I think when people listen to this show, they never get the sense, oh, Lewis is after my money.
Yeah.
They never get that sense. They only get a sense of Lewis is trying to help people. He's doing good in the world. He's trying to learn. And that
builds your reach and builds results, which increases reputation.
Which eventually leads to revenue, right? Like
right.
Here we are in your place in the Hollywood Hills, and
right.
like you're doing all right for yourself, and that's great. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand too, is if you focus on reputation, revenue shows up as a byproduct. But if you focused on just profit, then sometimes people kind of get hurt along the way.
Because they're focusing all their decisions on making money.
Just money.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it doesn't matter. And that's one of the things I love about the
I make a lot of decisions that lose me a lot of money, but build reputation.
Yes.
Like doing an event in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
The first 2 years we lost money.
But
I wanted to add value, give back, do something meaningful for me as well as my audience. And I think long term it'll pay off into bigger revenue than let me do an event in Los Angeles or New York where I'm going to get the most people to show up and make more money right away.
Right.
I think that's the key. When I launched the podcast, I said for the first year we're not going to do any sponsorships. We're not going to try to make money.
Right.
We're just going to add value and continue to give good content.
And you say no to certain sponsors.
Absolutely.
Like,
say no to lots of
you
sponsors.
say no to all sorts of sponsors because you've defined, look, like these are things I don't believe in.
Sure.
Even if they're paying, it's like, and I think that's really huge.
So the business could be making more money, but we choose not to because it doesn't align to our brand DNA.
Right.
And I think that's something that everyone should get clear on is what is your uniqueness? And you continue to talk about that with a lot of people that you work with in the Brand Builders group is figuring out who are you essentially, what is your uniqueness?
Yeah.
And how can you then exploit that to people? Because your uniqueness is probably more important than anything else.
Right.
Figuring out how unique you are is your identity, and that's what's going to attract the right customers and the right opportunities. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And I want to make sure and give a shout out to Larry Winget so he knows. Like he said this, and the moment I heard it, I was like, that's one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard. He said, the key is find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. And I was like, whew, that's strong, man. Yeah. And there's people that do that. You are somebody who does that, and I think you have to, the challenge is getting clear on what makes you unique, what makes you special, what makes you different. And here's another mutual friend of ours, Sally Hogshead, and she wrote
great.
Fascinate. And
different's better than better.
Different is better than better.
I've remembered that since the moment she said it on a stage like 8 years ago.
I just shared the stage with her like a few days ago. I mean,
and I say that all the time.
Different is better than better. And the other thing is, what I love about, she teaches people how to be fascinating. And what I love about what she says is it's not that you learn how to become fascinating, it's that you learn how to become more of yourself. And that is like, that's it, man. Like when you are doing you, then you're uncopyable.
That's it. It's funny, I heard, I was watching an interview of The Rock yesterday with Jamie Foxx. And he said when he got into the movie business, his management team was like, you need to lose weight, you need to start acting a different way, you need to start being softer, like all these things. And he lost all this weight, got skinny, like looked really weird. And then he fired them and he said, you know what, if I'm gonna do this business, I'm gonna do it my way, which is like becoming more of me, like amplifying the Rockness. Like they told him not to use The Rock, they'd use Dwayne Johnson as his name. And he's like, you know what, I'm going back to who I am, making it about the people.
Good for him.
Like getting bigger and stronger, like whatever it is his thing.
Look how that's worked out.
And today, he just posted that he was the highest paid actor of all time in 1 year. I think that was right. Was it the highest paid actor, like 112 million in 1 year?
Dear Lord.
Of all time, the greatest actors ever, he is the highest paid.
And otherwise he would have been like everybody else, and he would have,
Yeah, maybe he would have done okay.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't have been different.
It's celebrating what makes you especially you. And that's what people are drawn to. Like, people know I was, and like I know when I see you, you're like always in a t-shirt, and you always, we wear the same cologne. That's like one thing I always know. It's good. But you are you. And when people see me, it's like I'm in a pocket square and I have a flower. It's because I was raised by a single mom who sold Mary Kay, and like, I get manicures and pedicures. I do. Like,
that's your style.
It's who I am. It's just who I am. And I think that's what's amazing is And here's the challenge too. So there is a part of this that is invigorating to your spirit. There's also a part of this that is dominating as a business strategy, because the challenge today is noise.
So much noise, so much content. Everyone's posting every day content.
That's it. So how do you break through the noise? Because there's always somebody that's going to be smarter than you. There's always someone who's funnier than you. Better looking, better connected, fitted, has more money to do whatever. And I think the thing that you see is that when a celebrity grows, it's because they're being raw and authentic, and it's themselves. And that is what people are drawn to, because we live in this world of tremendous fakeness, right? I mean, we have these masks, and we wear masks, and we do it because we're completely insecure.
Trying to fit in.
We're trying to fit in. We're totally insecure, and
And a personal brand should be about standing out.
Yes.
Not fitting in. It should be about how do you stand out more.
Yes.
And you talk about this in the brand helix. Can you break it down, and if you want to draw for yourself?
Yeah. So I'll kind of try to draw it out.
You can explain it.
If you think about brand DNA, right? So we kind of thought of a chromosome sort of a looking thing. So this isn't the world's perfect drawing, but if you think about kind of like a chromosome. And these aren't the only questions. These are just questions really that my mentors asked me that help me kind of get clear, and I always think about. And I think these are questions anybody listening that says, okay, I have a personal brand, I want to grow it, or I want to build a personal brand, or you're an executive of a company or something, and it's like, okay, I want to use my brand to grow my business. Is you ask yourselves these questions. And so the first question, where all personal branding starts, is just getting clear on this. And this is from my man David Avrin. And David Avrin mentored me from the time I was super young, and he said, Rory, you have to get crystal clear on what problem do you solve. What problem do you solve? The way that Dave said it is, he said, to what question are you the answer? And until you get clear on the problem you solve, you get absorbed by the noise, because you're out there talking about, we do this and we do that and we do this. But the moment you start promoting the problem, promoting the questions, that is when people start to pay attention, because now it's like, whoa, this person can help me solve a problem. So you have to get really clear on what problem do you solve. Then the next question is, what are you passionate about? And there's two parts of this sort of brand helix. So the top part here, this is all sort of external facing. So this is how you appear or occur in the world. Yep. And then this bottom part is internal. So this is more like your internal monologue, like your psychographics. And these correspond with each other. So the problem I solve, because there may be many problems you solve, right? Like you can teach people how to do all sorts of different stuff.
Right.
But what's
the thing you're passionate about as well? And when they intersect, that's when it's a sweet spot.
Bingo. Right. Yeah. So that's what we're looking for, is the intersection of the external, sort of who you were designed, or who the world needs you to be, and who you were designed to be. Who you love being.
Yeah.
So what problem do I solve? The next thing is sort of, what am I perceived as an expert on? And expertise is interesting, because expertise is really more about perception.
Right. What do people think I'm an expert at?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you introduced me, I think you said, Rory's a New York Times bestselling author, right? So why do you choose to say that? Because people hear that and they go, expert, credible, right? That's something that you get, and there's a certain type of person. It takes a lot of work to get that, and so there's these triggers that we kind of think through. We walk people through this. Actually, is what are the triggers of what make you perceived as an expert? And one of the exercises we take people through I actually don't think we did this with you, but we write your bio, and then we do what's called your future bio.
Interesting. I like that.
And so we ask the question, 5 years from now, what does your bio need to be? And that's actually how we met.
That's cool.
Because you and I met before the launch of School of Greatness, before the first book, and you were getting ready for your launch, and that's, I think you'd had me on the show once, and then we were kind of talking about your book launch and stuff. But that is who you want to be. And you always said, you're like, I'm going to be a New York Times bestselling author.
Yeah.
And now we know. Do you mind me sharing? Have you shared the 100 million?
People know. Yeah, but you can share it. Yeah.
Okay. So for those of you listening and watching,
people have heard in the past,
that one of the things that we got crystal clear on when you and I spent 2 days together, and AJ and Matt, and we all four of us were there, was that the School of Greatness podcast is going to get 100 million downloads.
Yeah.
100 million. And when you get to 100 million, like, you're going to be that person. And again, part of what I loved this for you was, we talk about what business are you in, how do you make money, and all that sort of stuff. But I kind of knew that we hit it for you when you were like, I don't care about the money. Like, if we hit 100 million downloads, it'll work out. I want to impact 100 million lives.
Yeah.
And that was what, like, you came alive. Like, you said it and you came alive.
Yeah.
Way more than money would ever inspire you. And so, I know that's part of your future bio.
Yeah.
Is 100 million downloads.
Yeah, we're close.
I know.
We're getting close, man. We're at 70+ million right now. So
you're going to hit 100 million, and then it's going to be...
And then the goal is 100 million
in a year,
and then 100 million a month, 100 million a week.
100 million in a week.
That's going to be a lot.
That's huge. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
But
it might take some time.
But you're building an audience, and here's the thing: you have, and this is worth noting. We'll come back to the Helix, but this is all related. Because you've spent such a long time building a great reputation. Reputation doesn't grow linearly; it grows exponentially. And so
it
it's
kind of hits a hockey
slow.
stick.
Yeah, it's a hockey stick. It's slow, but man, you're hitting that curve, right? And we'll talk about the yes/no list with you. And we one of the things we decided with you was we realized that there's some things you've been doing that you need to let go of because you're no longer competing with people who do that. You're competing with Oprah, and you're competing with Ellen, and you're competing with Rock. I mean, that's what I want
to be stepping into.
That's what you're stepping into.
Yeah.
That's part of the Lewis Howes future bio. So, anyways, that's what what are you the expert on? And some people
what's the problem you're solving? I think it's important for people to get clear on the exact problem, because there's lots of problems that I could be solving as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to be solving multiple problems as well. But what's the number one problem that you're going to focus on? And then there's other things you'll be solving along the way, but focusing on the number one thing is key.
So that also helps you define what we call your core audience target. Once you're clear on the problem, you know exactly who you're going after.
Find those people with that problem.
Yes.
That's it.
And
you don't have to market to everyone anymore.
Yes, which is what we do. We spend all sorts of money on silly stuff. We don't track it. And when you go after a core target audience,
you build a community of people too.
You do.
Who are like raving fans because they all have like the same beliefs, right?
Yeah, they all share it. And you do hit, it's like a target. That's why we use core target audience, because you're aiming at the bullseye. Now you're going to impact other people also. You're going to reach some other people. But if you don't know where the bullseye is, you're just throwing darts with your eyes closed. Right? So you have to have that core, and all of that's kind of connected to the brand Helix.
Right.
So then the next one, so the corresponding internal part here is, and this is a Dave Averin question, as he used to ask me, he said, Rory, what have you earned the right to talk about? So this is related to expertise. Expertise is external, it's perceived. But this question is more about what have you actually done?
What have you done? So I've written a New York Times best-selling book, so you've got the credibility to talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah. You've built a podcast.
You could talk about that. You're in shape. You could talk about that, right? Like you could do, and this was your problem, which we need to talk to when we get about the yes/no list, is the more successful you become,
you talk about lots of stuff.
More stuff, there's lots of stuff to talk about. And that's why getting centered and being clear becomes the more well-known you become, the more important it is to be clear on this stuff.
So important.
Because as your star rises, there's just more opportunity for distraction and for dilution in terms of where you spend your time.
I think Warren Buffett was the one who said the key between the difference between the successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no more than anyone else, or something like that. I don't know if that was exactly.
Well, and no, we can. This is good to talk about the yes/no list because so we did this. Is we went through with you and Matt and we made a. It's not a complicated exercise.
It's a chart.
It's
yes
a chart.
And no.
Yes, no. But
what do we say yes to? What do we say no to?
Well, and it's not just what do you say yes to and what you say no to. It's what are the characteristics of things you say yes to, and what are the characteristics of things you say no to. For example, you want to talk about yours?
Yeah, give a few.
Okay.
Give a few of the high-level ones.
Yeah, so let's talk about the no's first, because we'll talk about the yeses and we can share the dares.
Yeah.
Because I think that'll be cool for people.
Yeah.
So one of the things we got clear on for you is that anything that info marketers do, generally speaking, is going to be a no for you moving forward.
Yes, moving forward,
Because when we looked at the future of the Lewis Howes brand, we said Lewis Howes isn't competing with the world of the info marketers. Nothing wrong with the world of info marketers. Brand Builders Group lives in that space, right? And we follow a lot of people in that space, and we promote a lot of people in that space. But once we got clear that the podcast is the focus of your brand, and that is all in for the future, then we realized, okay, you're going to not do some of the things that those folks do.
Right.
And that
doesn't mean not applying online marketing strategies to my business.
Correct.
But it's not doing what other info marketers are doing to be well-known info marketers. Info marketers.
And there's certain things, there's maybe certain tactics that you won't do. Because they don't fit with just the direction of your brand.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? Like my job is never to make a judgment on what people decide to do or not do. It's just to help them get clear on going, okay, these kinds of tactics fit, these kinds don't, and we're going to make a decision based on the characteristics on our no list of what we do and don't do. Here's another diagram. So we created this recently, and I haven't shown you this, so this is interesting. So this is a Venn diagram. I think it's called a Venn diagram. It's 3 circles. And so what you have to do is there's these 3 circles. There's marketing that works. So there's principles of marketing that works. Then there is marketing that's ethical. And then there is marketing that is aligned. And so there's marketing tactics that work. See, there's fancy drawings.
Well, they look. If you guys are watching,
if you're watching on video, so marketing that works. There's things you can do with marketing that works, right? You can tell people we only have 10 left.
Right.
In reality, you have
unlimited.
It's unlimited.
Yeah.
So you have to reconcile that with marketing that is ethical. Right? Now, for you, you might not have an ethical problem with that. And if you don't, fine. That's your thing, right? Like, this is not an ethics course. But for your brand, you got to draw a line and say, I will do this, I won't do that. So you got to reconcile that with what's ethical. But then there's this whole other piece, which is marketing that is aligned with my uniqueness, with my future, with my mission. And so this is where you want to live,
sweet spot.
Right in the sweet spot. Because you need to do stuff that work.
There's
small decisions. That decision where you say, I will sacrifice revenue before I sacrifice my reputation. And let's talk about the science of making those decisions. So how do you know? The only way you know is to feel it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you do that.
When he said it, I was like, but then I'm telling you like a little lie. It's like a little bit off.
And I think people sense it. What happens is when you start to make one compromise, then it's easier to make the next. And then it's easier to make the next. And then it's easier to make the next. When you I think what happens there, it's almost like a continuum. All right, I've got more diagrams coming to me as we're talking this out. It's almost like you have a continuum. And on one end of the continuum this is it, integrity. Okay? On the other end of the continuum, let's just say is compromise. And your reputation is somewhere on this continuum. And every single decision that you make, every single choice, even the ones that nobody else knows about except for you, is either moving you on the continuum closer to full integrity, which is somebody who has full integrity, is fully like aligned, full authenticity. They don't have insecurity, and so they can be fully themselves and express themselves in the rawness which people are drawn to, or you compromise. And as you compromise, your reputation, your personal brand, your identity starts to become unclear. And the more you compromise, the more you compromise. Like, so here's something I don't mind sharing this publicly because this is something you inspired me to do. Was I don't think I was ever an alcoholic. I don't. But there was a time here a couple years ago when I realized it was like I was drinking too much. Just drinking too much, right? Like I'm keynoting, I'm speaking at all these events, like 60 events a year, and so I'm flying in first class, and then you get there, and the client takes you to dinner, and then you're back, whatever, and it's easy to have a couple drinks every night. Yeah. And I remember when I met you in person for the first time, and we went out, and you didn't have anything to drink, and I was like, that's wild. And then we had that dinner that night at Michael Hyatt's house. And it was, you remember that? It was Donald Miller and Michael Hyatt and Josh Axe and Jeff Goins and John Acuff, Jeremy Cowart. The Nashville Mafia. And, like everybody, I don't know if everybody was, but most people were drinking it and you weren't. And I think, I asked you, I was like, so what's with the drinking thing? And you were just like, I just don't do it. Yeah. And there was something about you doing it, and there were a few other people in my life too, but when I saw that it was okay for you not to do it, it was like it gave me permission to let it go. And then, when AJ told me we were pregnant and we were having a baby,
it was a no-brainer.
It was like, okay, so she's not going to drink, so I'll just do this with her. And so cold turkey, we had one glass of champagne that night. We found out, and then we went cold turkey. And then after that, so Jasper is 16 months old now, and I just never went back. And I think the way that you said it, if I remember right, and this is the part that was powerful for me, was you said, if I look at just alcohol, and again, if you drink alcohol, this isn't like, I don't want you to feel bad, I'm not campaigning for anything whatever. I'm just saying what you made a decision for yourself where you said, I don't think alcohol helps me inspire people.
Didn't serve me.
Didn't serve you. It
didn't serve humanity.
Didn't serve your ability to serve people. And so when you said that, it forced me to kind of go like, to have, pun intended, a sobering conversation about like, okay, is this making me better or is it not? And the scary part for me, Lewis, is that, I have a decent reputation, I think, but I've done some really stupid stuff, some really bad stuff. And when I've looked back over my life, one of the things that was in common in almost all of them was that I was drunk.
Wow.
And that was like, wow, like when you ask that question, is it serving me? And so, whether it's marketing or it's a lifestyle choice or decision, it's just about you being intentional about choosing who you're going to be. Yeah,
that's it. And listen, I'm the king of ice cream, so that doesn't serve me either.
Yeah, that's right. So you told me you had the sugar. You and I both have the sugar
problem. I go on waves of it where it's like, okay, I'm focused for a while, not having it, and then I'll have some every now and then. So it's like you got to pick and choose your own personal battles.
Yeah.
That's my battle. Is like
Although Danielle Natoni, a mutual friend you introduced us to, she's a client of a brand builders group. So she shared some stuff with me that's got me like, now I'm working on the sugar. I'm trying to cut it down.
She's good at that.
And she's good at that. And I was like, damn, like, but it's good. It's good. Okay, so
let's go back to
the yes/no list and the yes list.
Yep.
You want to talk about
the no list is getting clear on like what you are not going to do anymore, or moving forward, what you're not going to do. And I did, and actually, also in my no list was like, I am not going to speak for less than my rate anymore. Which before I was making compromises all the time. I was like, I'll do it for half the rate for this because it's money there. And I don't want to leave money on the table, right? And I could use that for my team or production or whatever it may be. And I started getting clear, like, this is the rate, this is what it is, otherwise I'm not doing it. And that clarity has just allowed us to say yes and no quickly to all the inbound opportunities of speaking gigs. So that's just one thing, and we're still getting clear on a lot of things that we say yes and no to.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for you to create a list. Yes, I'm going to do these things when it does this, or no, I won't do it when it does this. And so the yes list, is that what you're saying next?
Dares. Yeah, I was going to talk about.
Go ahead.
But one thing I wanted to say on the topic of no, because this is powerful. You know, the word no creates margin. And it takes incredible confidence to say no.
So hard.
And it takes not just confidence, but perspective.
And say no to money.
Money is one of the biggest lures of compromise in the world. Like, money is one of the biggest things that can pull you away from integrity, is to just, there's an opportunity to make money here. And so you always have to be playing the long game. And that's something that, you know, all these people you have on your show, like all these successful people, they're always playing the long game. Always the long game. It's probably the single greatest difference, I think, between you know, most everyone and the ultra successful. The ultra successful are playing the long game. So getting clear on what you say no to. So what do we say yes to? Do you want to go through that? You want to talk about the dares?
Go ahead. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Dares.
Dares.
This is the thing I was telling you guys in the beginning that is powerful, game changer.
So this is, I think, in terms of what do we say yes to, you want me to draw it out?
Well, you can draw it out and then I can show it afterwards, but while you're speaking.
So, yeah, it helps me. I feel more at home as a speaker, like, this is my whiteboard,
trainer,
so I feel good, Okay, so dares are basically when...
It's the framework for what you should be thinking about when launching a product or service, is that right?
It's yes. These were things on our yes list, like as I was thinking about the future of my life and me and AJ and say, okay, we're going to build Brand Builders Group. What are the things that we're going to do in terms of how we spend our time building business?
Yes and no,
Yes and no. And we noticed, like, okay, these are some characteristics of things we're into. So, you know, this isn't like the end all be all list, but we live in a world where this is possible more than ever. So the D is things that are digital, right? Like, you can have a business without having a warehouse.
Right.
You can have a business
storefront
without having a storefront. You can have a business without even having inventory today.
Nothing,
Digital. So the A is...
And why digital for you?
Just because I want to...
When you don't have overhead, when you don't have to have that extra overhead, might as well do it.
Well, and it again...
Less logistics, all that stuff.
Yeah,
right?
and if you just think about all of this in the context of it empowers you to serve people, right? Anything that creates mental or emotional space gives you more power to serve other people.
Yeah.
So anything that's not tying me up, whether it's money or time or resources or just even emotional like baggage, anything that's not tying me up is margin that I can reinvest to doing the things that I love, making a difference, like giving out there in a message.
Smart.
So that's digital. Yeah, and from a financial strategy, from just, you know, business, it's like, you know, you don't have
profitable.
Yeah, and for, you know, it's working capital is the term that like entrepreneurs use. Working capital is the amount of cash tied up in the business of just running the business. So when people owe you accounts receivable, like they owe you money, that's money that you should have that you don't have. And when you have inventory, it's cash that's in inventory that you can't use.
Yeah.
That's working capital. So when you have digital stuff, you don't have as much of that. So the A is automated. Automated. And we live in a world of automation. You know, I did a whole TED talk on this, which you can
multiplying your time.
You can go check that out. And you know, one of the things to me that I've realized here is that, you know, like compounding interest is a way that you sort of leverage money, right? You invest it and then it grows. Well, in today's world, because we live in a world of where things can be automated, automation is a way that you leverage time. And so when you do something and you automate it, then it's like, it's kind of how compounding interest will work all day, every day. when you automate something, that's the same thing. And there's more tools, now.
Right.
Than ever.
Softwares and everything else.
Yeah. So we're looking for things that are digital, automated. The R is recurring.
Huge.
Recurring. And
A friend of mine, Bedros, I don't know if you know Bedros Keuilian.
well, I know him. I just from seeing him on your show and social media. Like
he did a post, a couple days ago, where it was like 3 principles to building a business. He's built this huge franchise, Fit Body Boot Camp business. I mean, I can't remember how many, 500 or 1,000 locations around the world. Probably more than that. I'm just throwing out a big number. And he was like, my 3 rules of like building a successful business. One of them was every product or service should be recurring. He was like, that's one of his 3 principles to building a successful business, like recurring revenue. He's like, even if you don't think it could be recurring, it can be.
Yeah.
Like repackaging it, repositioning it so that you acquire a customer one time and they pay you every single month or every single year. But always looking for new customers and to make your money is a hard business to be in.
And here's what's interesting about that. Always looking for new customers is a hard interest to be in. And, I have a long history and background in sales and not in that world at all anymore. But, sales is a lot of stress.
A lot.
It's a
Knocking
lot
on doors.
A lot of pressure
always
to get the next person. When you have recurring revenue, it frees you up to better serve your customers.
Absolutely.
You can spend more energy servicing your existing customers because, and financially from a business valuation standpoint, I don't want to get into too much of it, but normally the way a business is valued, like how much is a business worth, is you got revenue, expenses, and profit. And most businesses are valued at a multiple of profit. It's so like a 5 multiple. If you had 100,000 in profit, a 5 multiple is 500,000. It's just saying how many years into the future. It's an estimation of future cash flows. Well, anyways, recurring businesses.
If you don't have recurring, then you can't sell it for as much of a multiple.
Well, yeah, because recurring companies are valued on the top line, on revenues. So instead of, like let's say you had $1,000 in revenues, $900 in expenses, and $100 in profit. And a 5 multiple on earnings would be only 500. But when it's a recurring revenue, a lot of times it's valued on the top line. So 5 times 1,000 is it's 5,000 versus 500. It's 10 times the valuation. But beyond that, you may not ever be looking to sell a business or something, but you just, it frees you from stress, which leads to the next one, which is evergreen. Evergreen. Now, there's a lot to be said, this one especially, it's worth a caveat that there's a lot to be said for the power of a launch.
Yes.
And
something comes out, the anticipation,
boom. Movies, they do huge launches, right? Artists do big tours. Authors, right? We do the book launch, and a lot of people do product launches and stuff.
Getting the awareness out there, the attention, the buzz.
Yeah. But a launch is very stressful.
A lot of energy.
It always is.
And if you live and die by a launch without having the rest of this afterwards, then that's a hard business.
Yeah, you're always like, you're either going into a launch or in a launch, you're coming out of a launch.
Yeah.
The nice thing about evergreen and recurring is like, okay, we're building a steady snowball, and it's like we can breathe a little bit, we can love on our people and not always we can take care of our existing customers and not always have to just be thinking about selling the next one, right? So I love evergreen.
Yeah.
So there's times to do a launch, and the one thing I will say about this is it's almost like there is this breakthrough point that you need to do a launch, at least one big launch to break through, and then sort of become known. And then once you're on the other side of that, you can sort of chill out a little bit.
Right.
And then the last S there is scalable. I'm looking for things that are infinitely scalable, that they will grow, and you don't ever get capped.
Right.
Right. So if I am, I don't know what is an example of something that's not scalable, but something that's really hard, or really big, it takes a lot of energy. It's just not super scalable. So you always want to be thinking, what
can I systematize so that I can duplicate over and over, right?
Yes.
And scale it up. Yeah.
Well, and if you are building a personal brand, like a lot of you listening, if you're in that space of going, okay, I want to build a personal brand, then what do I do, or how do I make money at it? It's kind of a one to many. You're trying to figure out a way. well, here's an example of something that's not scalable. You doing one-on-one phone calls.
Yeah, that's not scalable.
It's not scalable. You can only talk to so many
hours. Well, it's scalable to
a point.
A point, and then it's not.
Right.
Right.
So
scale it up to 10 hours a day.
Yeah, like however many hours you want to spend doing, but that's going to create. It's going to create it's going to lock down your cap.
Yeah, exactly. So again, to repeat that, these are dares. This is what everyone should be thinking about in running the perfect business.
We think this is the future. Yeah.
Future. Something that's digital, automated, recurring, evergreen, and scalable. And obviously, physical goods is eliminating that. So if you have supplements or clothing or beauty products, it's not digital.
Yeah. Now, and here's the thing. I don't know that I found any business that hits all 5 of these. So it's more like, what's the most that you can hit?
Yeah.
But
try to do as many as you can.
As many as you can. Yeah. So like vitamins. Okay, a good example. So the nice thing about vitamins, anything that's a consumable product,
it's recurring.
Is recurring by definition.
You can automate the process of it.
But both selling it and delivering it, right?
Exactly.
You can have people on a monthly auto ship.
You can have evergreen. You can scale it up.
And it can scale
but
pretty
it's not
nicely.
Digital.
It's not digital. So 4 of the 5.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good. And so you look at
a membership site is probably a digital membership site is probably one that fits this, right?
Digital membership sites do fit this. The challenge with membership sites is the recurring.
Keeping people in.
Is
for
keeping
more than
people
3
in.
months.
It's like they stay 3.4 months or whatever.
So it's finding that whatever that is that people need to stay in for, which is usually adding like a software component or something else that helps them.
Or a human touch.
Human touch. Or
software,
a physical good.
Or a physical
which
good.
That's not digital anymore.
Yeah, or an experience, like a community experience, like a
live event.
Like a live event or something, right? You get
That's
free tickets to the...
Which is no longer digital, but it's pretty much... Yeah.
You're going for as many as you can.
Yeah, as many as you can.
You're going for as many as you can. And part of this is all of this is all of these are vehicles. These are all vehicles for you to be more of who you were designed to be.
That's it. And again, think if we're thinking about building a personal brand with dares, it's like for me, by going through this process, I learned more and more about my uniqueness. And my uniqueness is not, at this moment at least, is not managing and building some massive team, right? And me in the weeds of managing people all day long. It's about the relationships, building relationships with other influencers, creating great content, speaking, whatever it may be.
Right.
Doing those things, promoting a message, and trying to help the masses.
Right.
And so I shouldn't be building a business or a product that requires me to do things that isn't my uniqueness.
That's what we talked. That's what we kind of uncovered, yeah.
And bringing in other partners or team members to help manage and facilitate those aspects of the product or services that we're doing. And I think that's important for everyone in order to go through this process.
Whatever your staff is, like whatever your team is, should support very specifically what your main thing is.
That's it.
Yeah. And then everything else, you should either get a referral. You should just get a referral partner, right? Mm-hmm. Like affiliate commissions or referral partners. Yeah. That's a great thing. Or just have people you trust that you recommend, or you just say no. That's the other thing is you can just say no.
Because like you said before, the bigger your reach gets, the more opportunities to make money. I could create a T-shirt line, a shoe company. I don't know.
You could launch a restaurant right now.
Soap
Lewis.
company, a restaurant.
You could start a real estate company.
Anything, right? You could
totally
start lots of different things and go into that. But you have to ask yourself, well, what is your passion as well?
Right.
Your expertise and your passion, do they lie into those things? Just because you can do them to make money, should you? And is that going to pull you away from the deeper focus that you have? And I think that's the challenge. The bigger your audience gets and the more success you have, there's opportunities to partner with lots of different things and start all these products and services. And what you're saying is to partner with people as referral partners and just work off of a commission or affiliate deals or something and not do those things.
Yeah.
Let someone else do them.
Or just say no completely.
Just say no completely and focus on your lane. Did you want to say something else to that?
No, I think that is spot on, is the confidence to be able to say no.
And I think we should go into what business are you in, which is the revenue streams. Did we talk about that yet?
Not really. So that was a good one. So that's one of the exercises that.
And this is an exercise that anyone could do right now at home.
Yeah, this is a great one.
If you got a pen and a paper.
I mean, all these are pretty you could
do all these
theoretically.
But if you want to do this one, you essentially just write down a list of all the revenue streams from top highest earning to lowest earning. Is that right?
Yep. So this is one that, you just basically go revenue. You just revenue streams at the top.
Yep.
And you just brainstorm them. So step one is just what are all
speaking, books, courses, events, whatever.
Membership, blah blah blah. Whatever we sell T-shirts, like whatever your revenue streams are.
Just write them all down.
Just write them all down. Okay, and then what you do is you do two rankings.
Oh, this is great. The 1 through 5, right?
2 rankings.
I forgot about this. This is the key. Oh my gosh.
So the first ranking is which one is the largest.
Right.
And so a lot of times people will say, "Oh, I'm in the XYZ business." But when they do this exercise,
I'm in the speaking business or the book business.
The revenue tells a different story.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you say you're in this business. You might even present yourself.
Say you're a speaker, but really you're in the events business or the book business.
Whoa.
The book business.
It's getting crazy.
It's all good. Yeah, so that's the thing. It's figuring out the revenue stream and figuring out what business you're in based on
the actual dollars.
Exactly.
Just the results. Now everything we've talked about, we probably should have said this earlier, everything we've talked about today happens in the context always of who you are now and also who you want to be. It's what is your current bio.
Right.
Like, how can you package yourself to be perceived as an expert today? And then it is where do you want to be? What is your future bio?
So the business you're in right now may be based on the highest revenue that you have, the revenue stream, but it doesn't mean that's where you need to be. I mean, it doesn't
long term.
Yeah.
But you need to be clear.
You need to understand where you're at
today.
Right.
And a lot of times we don't operate accordingly. We think to ourselves, this is all inspired to me by the McDonald's story.
Uh-huh.
I think you've heard this before, right?
Share it.
It's like classic MBA school story is they say, I guess it was Ray Kroc or someone was talking to a business class and Ray Kroc asks the class, what business am I in?
And they're like, hamburger business.
Yeah, I'm in the hamburger business, and restaurants, and and he goes, no, and he says, how many of you can make a better hamburger than me? And they go, well, yeah, of course, yeah, I can make a better hamburger than McDonald's. And he says, that's because I'm not in the hamburger business, I'm in the real estate business. And he was really clear. That's like, we're in the real estate business, and McDonald's owns real estate on all of the most popular street corners in the world, right? I mean, but on the surface, it's fine if people think you're in one business.
The perception.
It's fine if the perception is that, as long as you are clear.
And your reputation needs to be that we create great hamburgers.
Yeah.
Or we create a great family experience, or whatever it is.
Whatever the reputation needs to be, or whatever your reputation actually is what your reputation is. But you need to make sure that your reputation is aligned with what business you're really in.
Yeah.
And you either need to adjust your reputation or adjust the revenue stream. Now here's the part, it's the second ranking though, that's where everything's
it's big.
Crazy. Is all you do, so you have
you rank your revenue streams.
Revenue, yeah. So you rank them here.
And the highest revenue stream is actually the business that you're currently in based on revenue.
Just data.
Just based on that. It doesn't mean that's where you want to be. It's based on where you're at now.
Yep.
And then the second ranking is
the stress ranking. Mm-hmm. And so all you do is you go each revenue stream and you rank them. And you go, okay, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being incredibly stressful, like I hate doing this, and it's horrible.
It sucks the life out of me. I dread it. It's exhausting. I lose sleep over this. Everything.
Yeah, it ties up our money or whatever. Like, just gives you stress. And a 1 being, man, this is amazing. It's life-giving. I enjoy it. I love it so much. And that's a 1. And you look at what is the stress level. And what's crazy is a lot of times you find that the highest stress things are producing some of the lowest revenue.
You're like, why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Makes no sense. But we do it because we think we're supposed to. We do it because everyone else is doing it. We do it because our colleagues are telling us we need to do it. We're doing it usually out of insecurity. Out of insecurity to just trust and believe and jump blindly and boldly into risking just being the person we were meant to be.
That's good. It's really good. So revenue streams was a big one for us when we did this session for the 2 days, because it helped me gain clarity on where I'm at, where I want to be, and the things that create a lot of stress. And saying, you know what, maybe we don't have to eliminate them right now because some of them are making good money, but how can we start transitioning out of them and create a deadline by when I want to remove these things completely, by increasing the revenue on other things so that I don't have to worry about the revenue on something that's creating a lot of stress.
Right.
And that has given a lot of clarity for me and my brand and my team to be able to move forward in things that we do better anyways than the things that we do stressful because we thought we were supposed to do them. So it's a really key one. You guys can do this at home.
Well, and when you do all this, and this is one of the things, and this is, again, I hope you don't mind me sharing this.
Go ahead.
You know, you called and you came to Nashville, and we spent a couple days together to try to get clear on, like, what's the thing you should be all in on.
Yep.
And we talked about all of this different stuff that you were doing. And at the end of our 2 days together, our great big epiphany was that the one thing that mattered most was what?
The podcast.
The podcast.
Podcast.
And the podcast wasn't in the conversation really of like, it was like, this is your deal. Like, this is the thing. And Lewis, you have spent money on Facebook ads for lots of different things in the past, but you shared with me that you had never once spent $1
promoting the podcast.
Promoting the actual podcast itself.
Well, maybe we can spend a couple dollars testing, boosting a post, but
yeah.
To be in integrity with my words.
Okay. But compared to other things
right,
you
I haven't spent
on.
much. Than a few bucks.
And what's interesting is it's like, you know, like the podcast isn't necessarily your top revenue stream.
Right.
But once we got clear about your brand DNA and who you were designed to be, and
that's why I wasn't focusing. I mean, it's still a major piece of everything, but I didn't think it was the business I was in because I was generating revenue in other things. So we'd spend money on those other things to make more. But really, like you were saying there, go ahead and finish your.
Well, what I was just going to say is when you get clear on your brand DNA and like this is your thing, and look, part of how you know what your thing is because it's the thing that's working. Like it's the thing that's working without having to try, without having to spend money.
And
like,
it's the thing that's making everything else work.
Yes, it's like the keystone, it's the cornerstone of everything. Mm-hmm. And then if you go all in on that thing, you don't have to worry about the money. Like, know it's going to show up, and especially you, just being as heart-driven and heart-led as you are, you were just like, I don't even care what the revenue streams are. Like, I know they're going to show up, and that's a faith and a trust that you have that if you serve people, and here's the thing about money in general, and I'm not the world's expert on money, but I grew up with none of it, and then got some of it, and have learned, over time how to get more of it, money is just simply the byproduct of how much value you deliver in the world. And so the fact that you are delivering tons of value without charging for it on the podcast, it's your reputation. It's the reputation formula. It's like the results times reach equals reputation. You're having huge reach, and so the revenue shows up as a result of building a reputation. The revenue shows up. It may come in different ways. Yeah. But it's, it's one of the things I love about this generation, like speaking of millennials and Gen Z and like some of the younger folks, is I feel like one of the bright spots of the future is that people aren't as motivated by money in these upcoming generations. They're really motivated by just what is fun and what is cool and what makes a difference in the world and there's some negative parts of that, right?
Right.
But there's some really beautiful parts about that too. Is to go, you know what? Money is not going to cause maybe as many people in the next generation to compromise as it has caused people in previous generations.
Yeah. That's it, man. There's a lot more that I know we could talk about, like brand mantra and everything else that we haven't covered here. Which is, we did a 2-day breakdown, which was super powerful, and you've been doing this for a lot of other people. And I asked you before we jumped on here if there's something we could give to people listening or watching on YouTube or on video.
Yeah.
And you said that you wanted to give a free strategy call, 30 minutes, maybe more, to a brand strategy call. Is that right?
Yeah. So Brand Builders Group,
Yep.
right? So this is the business that we are in. So and AJ and I are partners, and we've got some other people on board. We are helping people build their personal brands. We're helping them build rock solid reputations, and then we're helping them become rich, famous, and influential after they've built rock solid reputations. Right? So if you want to know more about how to do that, you can request a free call. And we do human to human, old school, like we want to just talk to you. We want to get to know you. We just want to hear about your dreams. And then we'll share with you what we maybe see and how we can help, and maybe we can help and maybe we can't, and either way is fine. But we love this, and we spend time with a lot of rich, famous, and influential people, and we're learning a lot, and we've got a lot to share. So we'd love to kind of talk to people about that.
So on the brand call, which you guys can go to lewishowes.com/brand call, and right there you'll see the form to opt in if you want to do a free call with Rory's team on this. What will they gain from that call? They'll learn more about how to build their personal brand and how to be more influential, all those things, right?
Yeah, I would say
you'll give them a kind of a breakdown based on what they're sharing, their goals, their vision.
Yeah, I would say one is our team will help you get clear about what your personal brand really is and what it should be and sort of what kind of direction you're heading. And then two, we'll share with you what we see for you as a potential next step or next steps for your personal brand.
There you go.
And there's, almost everything that we share and teach is stuff that we have learned from other people. We've learned it from you, right? Like I've been through 7-figure webinars, and I've been through Soga, and I've been through all sorts of stuff that we've learned from lots of people. So a lot of it we're sharing from people that we have learned, but I think what we're really passionate about is that reputation piece.
That's it.
And keeping you authentic and congruent and aligned.
Yeah, and there's a real need for this because there's a lot of, I have the Greatness Mastermind where we got a lot of big influencers and people who have large audiences but also don't understand where they're heading. They got too many opportunities. They don't know what their uniqueness is. They haven't figured out their revenue streams. And so I think it's really important if you're wanting to build a business or build your personal brand or launch any product or service, go to lewishowes.com/brand call, all lowercase, and you can learn more there. And at least just jump on a call, learn more about where you're heading, your vision. It's going to be really helpful to jump on this call. So I would check that out for sure. We'll link it up in the show notes as well. I want to ask you two final questions because we got to wrap things up.
Okay.
This one is the 3 truths, which I think you might have answered last time.
I have answered, yeah.
You have. We're going to do it again.
Okay.
I'll save on the question and just let you go into what are your 3 truths.
Man, I always forget to prepare for these. I know they're coming. So what are
This is if it's your last day and you have no one has access to your content or information anymore, and all you could share with them these 3 things that would be left behind. What would you say are your 3 truths?
I would say I wish I would have figured out in my life earlier to stop serving myself and start serving others sooner. And it's just like you don't feel any type of fear when you focus on others. It all goes away. So I would say that.
Yeah.
I would say the second thing is play the long game. Play the long game when it comes to your reputation, when it comes to your money, when it comes to your relationships, when it comes to what feels good. Play the long game. And then, for me, the third thing is it's a faith thing, and I hope you don't mind me sharing,
Sure.
but it's just like, for me, I'm a Jesus guy and I'm a Christian guy, and I believe in his plan. I believe that it's going to work out. I believe that the story has already been written, and it's just believing that the future is going to be better than the past. And however that looks like for you, for me that's Christianity and Jesus, but whoever you are, that's another thing you should at least spend more than a little bit of time getting clear on, is what you really believe about the long term.
Yeah.
The real long term.
Absolutely.
And just believing. That's the thing that I think winners definitely have, this inherent belief that the future will be better than the past.
Yeah. That's great, man. I love those 3 truths. I got to acknowledge you, my man, because you've helped me so much get clear on my vision, and it's my goal to serve as many people as possible. And you giving me that clarity through this, brand strategy, but also our friendship has been really powerful. And I know you're constantly helping as many people as you can who are influencers make an impact with their reach and their audience as well. So the ability to give people clarity and clear structure is a game changer. So I acknowledge you for that, man. Appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate it. It's an honor to be associated with your reputation. It's not something that we take lightly.
Yeah. Appreciate it, man. Final question. What's your definition of greatness?
I'm going to go with, and I know people have shared this before, I heard it from John Maxwell. He said that greatness is when the people who know you the best respect you the most. And I, as much of a public world as it is, and there's a lot that I've been through in the last few years, and just with social media and everything, right? Like everybody sees this manicured image of who you are, even if it's your weaknesses, it's still your manicured weaknesses. It's the ones you're choosing to share.
Sure.
And I think the reality is that there's only a handful of people around you that really get to see you in your darkest moments, in your weakest moments. And when those people that know you the best respect you the most, I think you've reached greatness.
Love it. Rory Vaden, my man.
I love you, brother.
Appreciate you.
You want to create a real transformation in people's lives, they have to invest something. They have to give something there. But I also say, since you're so smart and you know everything, you don't need to make money, can you show me one major influencer, thought leader, person you admire today? One. Show me one who hasn't focused on building their brand and business.